His hand was already on the small of her back when I walked in. That's the first thing I saw. Not her face, not the champagne, not the people staring once they realized what was happening. Just his hand, open, confident, resting on a part of her body that only a husband should ever touch without asking. I hadn't even planned to be there. The entire event was for her division, and I was supposed to be home with heartburn and leftover spaghetti. But something, maybe instinct, maybe madness, told me to show up anyway. I didn't even change my shirt. Just grabbed my keys and drove through the rain like something was chasing me. Turns out it was. They were standing near the fireplace. Red lighting. Shadows dancing behind them like devils clapping. And then, God help me, he kissed her. Not a long kiss. Not a shy one either. Just enough to say, she's mine. And she let him. She leaned into it. Her eyes fluttered shut. She touched his chest like it was hers to touch. And when the kiss broke, she smiled like nothing in the world had ever gone wrong. I didn't shout. I didn't storm. I just walked up, breath tight, legs wooden. The moment she saw me, her entire face shifted, but not to guilt. Not fear. Not even surprise. Annoyance. That's what I got. Like I was the one ruining the evening. And I said the only words that made sense in that moment, even though my mouth felt full of nails. You just ended our marriage. Her eyes narrowed. She tilted her head, the way she does when I leave crumbs on the counter. You're wrong. That's what she said. You're wrong. Like I misunderstood what I saw. Like my whole marriage was just a bad read. And maybe it was. But from that moment, I made a decision. If she wouldn't end it, I would. And I had no idea how deep her lies went. I didn't leave immediately. I know I should have. That would have been the strong thing to do, right? Turn around, walk out, slam the door behind me, maybe toss the ring into the nearest punch bowl like a scene out of some movie. But I didn't. I just stood there, like some idiot statue, watching my wife pretend I didn't exist. And she really committed to it. He whispered something to her. She laughed again. Not nervous. Not caught. Just entertained. As if I were some passing inconvenience. And then she did something that'll stay with me until the day I die. She adjusted his tie. That's it. That stupid little gesture. The same thing she used to do to mine every morning when we were still happy. When she still loved me. She smoothed his tie with both hands, then looked up at him with this soft, private grin. The kind of smile that once belonged to me. And I realized in that moment, it had been gone for months. She hadn't smiled like that at me in a long, long time. I turned away. Not because I was ready to go, because I thought I might throw up. I reached the coat room, but my hands wouldn't stop shaking. I wasn't even cold. I just wanted something to hold on to, something that wasn't spinning. My vision kept flickering between the reality I thought I had and the one I was now trapped in. And I couldn't stop thinking, how long had this been going on? You don't kiss someone like that. Not at a company event, not in public, unless you're past the point of shame. And if she was that comfortable, then this had to be far from the beginning. I dug out my phone and, like a fool, opened our text thread. Just 2 days before, she'd sent me a smiley face after I told her I'd cleaned the garage. A little yellow circle that now looked like a smirking lie. And there were no texts about late meetings or running behind that night, because she didn't need to lie anymore. She wasn't hiding it. Not from me. Not from anyone. I don't even remember walking back into the ballroom. But suddenly I was at the bar, pretending I still had some pride left. That's when someone tapped me on the shoulder. A woman, mid-30s, red dress, nice perfume. I thought maybe she was going to ask me if I was okay. But no. She leaned in and asked, "Are you Meredith's husband?" I nodded. She hesitated, glanced around like she was checking if we were being watched. Then she said, "You might want to know, that's not the first time I've seen her with him. He's not from this company. I saw them at the last event. And the one before that." I didn't say a word. I just stared at her, feeling my entire chest collapse inward. She gave me a sympathetic look. I'm sorry. I probably shouldn't have said anything. But she had. And she was right. And suddenly the room wasn't warm anymore. The music, the laughter, the champagne sparkle, it all felt fake, like wallpaper peeling behind a perfect photo. I turned toward Meredith and that man again. They were gone. Just like that. Nowhere in sight. And I felt something snap inside me. Not anger. Not heartbreak. Something colder. Something deliberate. Because if she was going to treat me like I didn't exist, then maybe it was time I became invisible. To her. To everyone. Starting tonight. I searched the ballroom twice, then the hall outside. Then even the back terrace where people went to sneak a smoke. Nothing. Meredith had disappeared, and she'd taken him with her. I stood there, soaked in confusion and something worse, humiliation. Everyone around me was still laughing, dancing, sipping their sparkling wine like nothing had just exploded in the middle of the room. But I swear, I felt eyes on me. Like at least a few of them had seen what happened. Like I was the pathetic husband in the background of a drama they were all silently watching unfold. I don't know what possessed me to go downstairs. Maybe I thought I'd catch them sneaking into a rideshare together. Maybe I hoped I was wrong. But I walked into that hotel lobby with my gut screaming and my heart dragging behind me, and there they were. Meredith and the stranger, standing near the elevators like they were just friends grabbing a drink upstairs. She was smiling again, her hand casually brushing his arm, while he whispered something that made her laugh and cover her mouth in this flirty little way I hadn't seen since we were dating. I didn't move. I just watched, hidden behind a marble column like some creepy detective in a bad movie. Then the elevator chimed. She stepped in first. He followed her. The doors began to close. And in a moment I'll never forget, right before the gap sealed shut, she looked up and saw me, dead in the eye. And she didn't flinch. She didn't gasp or hide or mouth an apology. She stared at me like I was the one who didn't belong there. Like I was invading her life, not the other way around. That elevator door might as well have been a guillotine, because when it closed, I felt something inside me die. Something heavy, something loyal. I walked out into the cold without thinking. No coat, no goodbye, no clue what to do next. I sat in my car with my hands on the wheel, just staring. The rain had finally stopped, but my windshield was still covered in drops. Streetlights blurred everything. I couldn't drive, couldn't think. So I just sat there and opened our wedding album on my phone. Yeah, I know. Stupid. But I did it anyway. Photo after photo of a woman who looked like Meredith, who smiled like Meredith, but who clearly wasn't the one upstairs in a hotel room with another man. And I just kept asking myself, when did I lose her? Was it when I lost my job and couldn't bounce back fast enough? Was it the months I spent working odd hours trying to get my freelance stuff off the ground? Was it when we stopped touching each other in the hallway or stopped saying, I love you, without prompting? Or was it before that, long before, and I just didn't want to see it? I sat there until nearly 2 a.m. She never texted, never called. When I got home, her closet looked exactly the same. Her shoes lined up like nothing had happened. Her perfume still sat on the vanity, but her pillow was untouched. She wasn't just gone for the night. She'd chosen to stay gone. And something told me this wasn't the first time. It was just the first time I caught her. And now, I couldn't stop wondering, how many lies had I believed simply because I was too afraid to ask the right questions? I didn't sleep that night. Not even a minute. I lay on our couch in the dark, the TV playing some dumb infomercial about adjustable wrenches while my mind kept rewinding to that elevator door, to her eyes, to the casual way she looked at me like I was the one interrupting her evening. The silence in the house was unbearable. I kept expecting to hear the garage door open, her heels on the tile, the front door click, but nothing came. Just the low hum of the refrigerator and the occasional creak of the ceiling fan above my useless, motionless body. At 5:14 a.m., I sat up. Not because I was ready to face the day, but because something inside me snapped. I suddenly didn't want to be in the dark anymore. I wanted answers, not assumptions, not vague feelings. I needed the truth, however much it was going to hurt. So I walked upstairs into the bedroom I hadn't dared to enter all night and stared at her side of the bed like it was enemy territory. Then I saw her iPad on the nightstand. She never let it out of her sight, but she left it behind. Careless, or maybe confident I'd never check it. But here's the thing, Meredith reused passwords. She thought she was clever by changing a number here and there, but I remembered the one she used for our Netflix account 5 years ago. I typed it in. The screen unlocked. My stomach dropped. It was all there. Messages, emails, photos. And the first thing I saw, without even needing to dig, was a thread labeled James Hotel. My hands were sweating so badly, I almost dropped the thing. I tapped the thread. Up popped a string of messages between Meredith and a number saved as Ben Tumblerglass. Classy, right? Ben, you looked incredible tonight. That dress should be illegal. Meredith, only wore it for you, winking face. Ben, you think he saw us? Meredith, he saw? Doesn't matter. It was bound to happen. Ben, you sure? Meredith, I stopped being his wife a long time ago. He just hasn't realized it yet. That last line. It split me in half. I don't remember setting the iPad down. I don't remember walking out of the room. I just remember standing in the kitchen holding the edge of the counter, trying not to be sick. I wasn't even angry. Not yet. I was hollow. Like someone had scooped everything out of me and left a wax figure to just melt under fluorescent lights. And that's when I saw her car lights pull into the driveway. She was back, wearing the same dress from last night, mascara slightly smudged, heels in her hand like some teenager sneaking in after curfew. She didn't look ashamed, didn't look nervous. She walked in and paused when she saw me in the kitchen. For a brief second, we locked eyes. She gave me this flat, tired look. "You're up early." That's all she said. Not "I'm sorry." Not "let me explain." Just "you're up early." And somehow, that hurt worse than anything else. I didn't respond. I walked past her in silence. She didn't stop me. She just headed for the stairs like it was any other Sunday. But it wasn't. Something inside me had changed. For good. And the man she thought didn't exist anymore, the one she said hadn't realized she'd already left him emotionally, he was wide awake now. I didn't say a word to her that entire day. Not during her fake yawn and stretch as she trudged upstairs. Not when she took a long, hot shower while humming to herself like she hadn't just shattered our marriage the night before. Not when she came back down in her favorite hoodie, the one I bought her on our 3rd anniversary, and made herself a smoothie like she hadn't walked through the door wearing Betrayal on her skin. I just watched, observed. Every movement she made was proof that she didn't think I had it in me to act. But what she didn't know, what she couldn't know, was that I was already 10 steps ahead. I had spent all morning on my laptop, opening an old email I never thought I'd use again. It was from a friend I hadn't spoken to in almost a year, a guy named Graham who used to work in digital risk management. He owed me a favor. I messaged him with one line. "Need help recovering deleted texts. Wife's cheating. Please don't ask questions." 10 minutes later, he replied, "Download this. Plug in her phone. I'll do the rest." Now, I'm not proud of what I did next, but I don't regret it either. When Meredith eventually went upstairs to nap, because cheating on your husband must be exhausting, I waited. Then I slipped into the bedroom, grabbed her phone from the charger, and did exactly what Graham said. By the time she woke up 2 hours later, the phone was back where she left it, and I was sitting at the kitchen table like nothing had happened, like I hadn't just watched an entire history of texts unfold in real time on my screen downstairs. There were hundreds, not just with Ben tumbler glass either. There was another thread, Tyler from Denver, and another one labeled only with an emoji. She had a whole archive of flings, all carefully compartmentalized. And the part that gutted me? She wasn't even reckless. She was calculated. She never told any of them she loved them. Never gave them too much. Just enough to keep the game going. That's when I realized this wasn't about some deep emotional connection. It wasn't about falling in love with someone else. It was worse than that. She was bored. She was playing me like a part-time job she couldn't be bothered to quit. She wanted the marriage for the comfort, the tax breaks, the image. But the intimacy? The truth? The respect? She hadn't cared about those in a long, long time. I closed the files, backed them up. Then I started planning. I didn't want revenge, not in the Hollywood sense. No public outbursts. No dramatic suitcase toss on the lawn. I wanted something quieter. Something permanent. I wanted her to look around one day and realize I was already gone, and she didn't even notice when I left. That night, I made dinner like I always did. Chicken and rice, her favorite. We ate in silence. She scrolled on her phone between bites. I watched her, wondering how many times she'd done this, sat across from me, smiling faintly while texting one of her boyfriends under the table. And when we were done, she looked at me and said, "You're quiet lately." I forced a smile. Just tired. She nodded, satisfied with the lie, and went back to scrolling. But I wasn't tired. I was done pretending. The beautiful thing about being underestimated is that no one sees you coming. And Meredith, she had no idea. For weeks, she'd treated me like I was just part of the furniture. Always there, silent, harmless. But while she was busy thinking I'd just roll over and accept what she was doing, I was quietly pulling the thread that would unravel everything she thought she had under control. The first thing I did was move money. Not in some dramatic, divorce lawyer style way. No, I was subtle. I had an old account from before we got married, one I never even closed. I rerouted my freelance payments there, canceled all auto transfers into our shared checking, and began pulling my name off things, utilities, subscriptions, even our Netflix account. I wanted her to start feeling little glitches. Nothing obvious, just enough to create questions, doubts, tiny cracks. The second thing I did was pack, one item at a time. A hoodie here, a favorite book there, my backup hard drive, my camera. I wasn't stuffing suitcases. That would be too loud. I just started removing myself from the house. Every day, something went missing. And she never noticed. Not once. Because when you treat someone like a ghost long enough, you stop checking whether they're still around. She had no idea I'd already put a deposit on a small apartment downtown. Nothing fancy, just a studio with a view of a parking garage, but it was mine. It didn't smell like her perfume or echo with her lies. And every time I stood in it, unpacking another item I'd taken from the house without her noticing, I felt lighter, like I was quietly reclaiming pieces of my soul. But here's where it gets interesting. One night, she came home late, real late, said she'd been out with coworkers. I didn't ask questions, didn't even lift my eyes from the TV, but I was already tracking her location. I knew she hadn't been anywhere near her office. She'd been at the same boutique hotel from the night of the company event. Only this time, she stayed for 5 hours. When she walked past me to go shower, she actually said, "You're so chill lately. It's kind of sexy." I smiled. Then I reached for the little velvet ring box I'd placed on the counter hours earlier. She hadn't noticed it when she came in. Inside was my wedding ring. I left the box open, right next to her favorite wine glass. No note, no dramatic speech, just the ring. A quiet statement. And sure enough, 20 minutes later, I heard her gasp from the kitchen. Then silence. Then footsteps. She stood in the hallway, half wet from the shower, towel wrapped around her chest, holding the box like it was radioactive. "What is this?" I looked up at her calmly. "A receipt." She blinked. "For what?" "For everything you pretended wasn't happening," I said, standing up and grabbing my coat. "I'm not going to beg you to admit it. I already know." Her mouth opened, but no sound came out. I walked past her, down the stairs, and out the front door. She didn't follow. She never does when it actually matters. But this time, something told me she would. Just not the way she expected. The first night in the apartment was quieter than I expected. No buzzing phone. No sudden panic. Just the hum of traffic outside and the unfamiliar creak of a bed that wasn't ours. I lay there staring at the ceiling, waiting for the delayed reaction everyone talks about. The regret, the second-guessing, the urge to run back and apologize for daring to disrupt the illusion. None of it came. What came instead was a strange, heavy calm, like I'd been holding my breath for years and only now remembered how to exhale. She didn't call that night, or the next morning, or even the day after. And I'll admit, that stung. Not because I wanted her back, but because it confirmed something I'd been afraid of all along. She hadn't noticed my absence yet. I was still just a missing object, not a missing person. I kept telling myself that was fine, that this was exactly what I wanted. But I'd be lying if I said it didn't hurt to realize how easily I'd been erased. On the third day, though, the silence broke. I was at a coffee shop near my new place, pretending to work while mostly just watching steam rise from my cup, when my phone lit up with her name. Not a text, a call. I stared at it until it stopped ringing, my heart thumping like it was trying to escape. A minute later, a message came through. "Where are you?" That was it. No apology, no concern, just a question that sounded more irritated than worried. I didn't reply. I finished my coffee, packed up my laptop, and walked home. When I got there were 3 more missed calls and a voicemail. I didn't listen to it right away. I needed to prepare myself for whatever version of reality she was about to offer. When I finally pressed play, her voice came through tight and controlled. She said my name once, then sighed. "This isn't funny. You can't just disappear. We need to talk like adults. We need to talk. Not I'm sorry. Not I messed up. Just another attempt to pull me back into a conversation she could manage." That evening, she showed up. I hadn't told her where I was staying. I hadn't shared my location, which meant she'd searched, asked questions, dug through things she'd never bothered to care about before. When I opened the door and saw her standing there, hair done, makeup perfect, expression carefully neutral, I felt something shift again. She wasn't frantic. She wasn't broken. She was composed, defensive, ready. "You left," she said, as if stating a minor inconvenience. "I moved," I replied. My voice surprised me. It didn't shake. She stepped inside without waiting for an invitation and glanced around the apartment like she was inspecting a hotel room she wasn't impressed by. So what, this is it? This is your plan? I shrugged. It's quiet. I like it. That annoyed her more than any accusation could have. She crossed her arms and looked at me like she was trying to solve a puzzle. You're acting like I did something unforgivable. I laughed. Not loudly. Not bitterly. Just a short, tired sound. You kissed another man in front of me. She rolled her eyes. Actually rolled them. That again? You're still stuck on that? You always do this. Take one moment and turn it into a whole narrative. That's when I realized something important. She wasn't here to fix anything. She was here to correct me, to convince me I'd misunderstood my own marriage. And standing there in that small apartment, I finally understood the truth I'd been avoiding. If I stayed, I'd spend the rest of my life apologizing for seeing things clearly. I opened the door and stepped aside. You should go. She stared at me, genuinely shocked. You don't mean that. I do, I said. And this time, I'm not wrong. For the first time since all of this began, she looked unsure. And I knew then, the reckoning wasn't over yet. Not even close. It's been 4 months since she walked out of my apartment that night, stunned and silent, her usual comebacks suddenly missing. I never heard her footsteps in the hallway again. No more voicemails. No more half-hearted texts asking where I went. At first, I thought the quiet would feel like loneliness. But it didn't. It felt like freedom. Like peace I didn't realize I'd been craving for years. People always say healing takes time, but they don't tell you that time alone isn't enough. You have to want the truth more than the comfort of denial. And when I finally stopped clinging to the idea of who Meredith used to be, I saw clearly who I had become. Not some victim. Not some whiny, invisible man in the background of someone else's story. But a man who stayed too long and finally walked away before he lost himself completely. I got a call last week from an unknown number. I let it go to voicemail, and when I listened, I heard her voice again. Softer this time. Slower. Hey, I just wanted to say I'm sorry. For everything. You didn't deserve how I treated you. I know it doesn't fix anything. I just thought you should hear it. It didn't hurt. Not anymore. It didn't make me angry. It didn't make me want to rush back. It just made something inside me close gently, like the final page of a long, painful chapter. And the crazy part? I was on my way to meet someone when I heard it. Her name is Naomi. We met through a mutual friend at a local photography exhibit. She's calm in a way that isn't quiet. It's steady. We don't talk about our pasts much. Not yet. But there's an ease between us. The kind I didn't know I was missing until it was right in front of me. She listens. Really listens. Not the smile while scrolling kind of listening. The kind where you actually feel heard. And for the first time in years, I don't feel like I have to shrink myself down just to keep someone's attention. I can breathe. Last weekend, we sat on the rooftop of her building eating takeout under string lights, just talking about nothing and everything. She reached across the table, touched my hand, and said, "You look lighter." And I smiled. Because she was right. I may have lost a marriage, but I found myself in the ruins. And now, I'm building something new. Something honest. Something real. Meredith once told me I was wrong when I said she'd ended our marriage. But looking back, I realize I was right. And leaving was the best decision I ever made.